everyone, it's Brett Hornby here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And I'm back for, let's say, part 2 of my reflections. 20 years since I graduated from here at Crescent Heights High School, as I mentioned in the previous video, which you can see right here, where I started revisiting schools from my past. Well, a lot has changed around here in the last 5 weeks, where I went through all my other schools in the past. I mean, well, you can see, especially I think when it was after I did my Dr. Oakley, then there was that uncovering of the bodies at the residential schools, which is an unfortunate part of the history. So I think it started from the James Short and now all my other schools up till now. You've been seeing a lot more orange or make references to that. So of course, you know, the every child matters. But the other thing that I still was planning on doing a part 2 reflections is that around here, it's going to be a different view. So I'll just walk up to the front door again, and then we'll look out and kind of play what's different. Of course, if you've been following me or been on my living in the Calgary area, you probably know what's different, but I think it's going to set up what's going to look different in the future. And I mean, this also looks like a nice stone finish, but and then I also noticed that lamp. It always seems to be on. That's just something neat. But you know, this is the front door again. I've already talked about the fact that this school, Crescent Heights High School, in its identity goes back to Balmoral, but there's a little less activity around there other than some kids camp at the community center. But I'm going to try to peek in and see in some of the parts of the school where I was able to get more pictures on the outside. But yeah, what's different from this view? Looking out the front door, yeah, you can see one less tree. I think it was Saturday that I was here, and then I remember it was like the Tuesday, a couple days after, when I was here doing my original video. I was outside at lunchtime. It was a big windstorm, and it was definitely a tough windstorm. Then I suddenly found out, oh, a tree fell down right here. You could see the tree that used to be right here. But the other thing that I've noticed when I walked around, that these trees, you can look up closely, there's some red rings around them. So I think after that windstorm, I think a lot of these trees are doomed. They're going to be cut down. I know another recent example of trees being, I mean, for example, this one right here, you could see green for the amphitheater. And also, if you remember growing up, you know, you're told that each tree, if you see the rings, it's not a nice clean cut. So I couldn't really count like off camera. But this tree, and you can see it leaned down this way, because I remember I saw a picture leaned down like onto the street here, or First Street Northwest, corner of 10th Street Northwest, or 10th Avenue, I should say, that this tree, I'm going to say this tree, and a lot of these trees right here were planted here when this school was open back in 1928. So I think all these trees are going to be cut down as a result of that. So that's another thing that's going to change. That's just another thing I've ad-libbed, but I'm just kind of back to try to do this all in one take. Like I said, I was able to take more pictures and reminisce on the time that it's been 20 years since I graduated from here, but I definitely took one heck of a school journey. As I already mentioned, I have a learning disability, and that's why I went through a lot more schools, considering I never moved in my childhood. So I still got to reflect the fact that you know, did all right considering I had a academic disadvantage. But it's been 20 years since I graduated from here, and hopefully, you know, things are right now, as we're heading to the summer, things are looking better for COVID numbers, and things are slow open up. Even Jason Kenney thinks on Canada Day we're going to be fully open. Hopefully that means that maybe later this year I'll actually have a reunion, as in, you know, interacting with other humans, doing all that, gathering. It'd be nice if I could maybe actually do that with fellow classmates that graduated with 20 years ago. Even last year didn't have class. Like I say, once again, looking at the newer part of the school, I mean, the front part, that was built in 1928. This part was built in 1985, where I remember the science classes and the gymnasium. I'll just continue to walk around. I think when I look back on my first video, and it talks about that plaque, that when this school was built, that there were some red brick additions that came in 1949. I think I can pick out now what I think is the 1949 part. But I'm going to walk around. And the last time I was here, I mean, this is the last Saturday in June, so the kids are done for the school for the year. And of course, congratulations to all the grads. I can only imagine what the grads from this year and last year, you know, with this pandemic, COVID-19, how are they going to look back on their graduation experience? I mean, at least I was able to go through the stage at the Jubilee, both with graduating from here in 2001 and 2006 at SAIT. But I do see some cars here, but I'm going to still walk through in here. And I mean, this place always looks spooky. Even 20 years ago, I mean, it's a nice shade. It's going to be really hot here the next while in Alberta. But let's see if I can, I already took a picture of it, but let's see if I can get a view of what it looks like outside the student center. And it's kind of echoing right in here, but yeah, it's nice and cool. I mean, it just feels spooky in here being underground, but I just remember seeing more activity here last time. So of course, if I ever get an opportunity to go inside the school, that would be really, really awesome. But I noticed on this part here that you can see the student center, see more relics for the Cowboys, sports relics. So yeah, I didn't get this view last time I was here, and gotta wonder if I know any people that is on there, but this is the only view I get from the outside right now. But this is inside the staff parking lot. I mean, it's nice and cool right now, but it has always felt spooky, even now and then. So I'm just walking out. I mean, this is above, you know, where the second gymnasium is. Looking on this side, that's where the main gymnasium is, where you see, you know, the bleachers. One side says Crescent, the other side says Cowboys. And I think I have to walk to the rock at Crescent Park. I think it explains why we were called the Cowboys, as I'll say when I did my neighborhood vlog. But you can see out here, this is where the main gymnasium is. I've only seen pictures and videos that the only thing that's different that I see in the gym now compared to when I was coming to school, that in the middle, Cowboy Sam is not in the middle, it's just that CH. But you can see this is the newer part of the school. Like I say, built in 1985. I'm almost thinking that this part here now, where I remember I had some broadcasting class, you know, computer classes on this side of the wing. I think this part, I think, might have actually been built in 1949, where it says red brick additions. So I'm gonna walk around, and once again, I already took a picture, but you can kind of peek in from this side, where you see the outside the gymnasium and going into that wing. I know that looking towards, which is the student parking lot, that's where I always remember. I know it's gone now, but there was always a no loitering sign. This is where, looking at these doors right here, that's where that no loitering sign was always there when I was going to school, except the first thing you always see is people loitering. And I think one of the assistant principals, I think he just gently pointed out and said, oh yeah, by the way, there's just no loitering here, but didn't swing of the hammer. But yeah, let's walk around this side as I'm continuing on. This is that wing where eventually when I come around, this is where that blue sea is, and that part has always stood out to me. I just find it interesting. I guess this is Crescent Heights High School. After all, just see a C on it. I guess it might be a little late to put CHHS, but maybe did at a newer school. I know that there's another Crescent Heights High School in Alberta that's in the city of Medicine Hat too. So it would be interesting if I ever go down to the Hat, walk around Crescent Heights High School, and said, there's the other Crescent Heights High School. But I mean, this is the looking west. And there's the community center and the current club. I know there's some kids summer camp, I'm out here, and here's where the blue sea is. This part always just stood out to me. And I know in this wing I had my locker here for grade 12. And then you can see the football field, practice field, and then the art and graphics area. But another thing you can kind of point out when I'll get to the view is, if you remember the last time that I was here, and I put it in the neighborhood video when I looked at the Crescent Heights neighborhood itself, that let's see if I can get it. But you can only see the clock at the top of the clock tower, if it's coming out. That if I can find it on the camera. I mean, it's easier to see it between all the shrubs. But yeah, there's that clock tower right there. That's the top of Balmoral School. That's one of those sandstone old schools. That's where the Crescent Heights High School and its identity began. And I already talked about that in the neighborhood video at the end. And there's a plaque talking about that Crescent Heights High School started there before this site here in 1928. So that's where that centennial came in from 1915 to 2015. I wasn't able to attend it because I was busy with real estate matters and getting ready to move from my first place I moved out of Pine Ridge to Capitol Hill. I know my parents went, and I don't remember how much it cost to go, but I mean, I definitely still would love to get pictures inside, to do this on the inside if I ever have the opportunity. I know the last time that I was inside the school would have to been, well, I know both times was for a St. Trojan game. I know during the 2004-5 season I watched court games that the St. Trojans played here as the gym was being renovated at the time at St. Then I remember there was a volleyball tournament in the fall of 2006 when I used to work as a minor official for the St. Trojans. So that's the last time I was inside the school here, but I was only in the gym. I like to be able to go in everywhere, if that's possible. But let's take a look through this side and how you can see these lockers here. I mean, you could definitely feel that vintage part of the school, but I think this wing that we're in right now has to be built in the 1949. But yeah, I had a locker down at the end of the hall towards by the gymnasium when I was here for grade 12. I know grade 10 and 11 I had a locker, if I remember, closer to the front where the home ec area is. So I'll just continue walking out. So like I say, this is the student parking lot. I kind of lied. I always took the bus here when they had a special bus here that picked me up from Marble Park. I mean, the only time I actually drove and actually had a spot here, actually when I returned, when I was returning grade 12 in the fall of 2001, where I actually had my own car. And the answer to that question, what's your first car, Brett? It was a 1989 Chrysler Dynasty. I bought it off of, at the time where I was still with my aunt's neighbor. She was 89 years old, and she was a pretty good shape for an 89-year-old, but she realized that she needed to give up driving, so I bought the car off for her. And fortunately, it only lasted 5-6 months before it broke down, and I had to get the engine rebuilt if I wanted to keep it. But I was like, no, I think it's more important for me to have money for school. And that was when I was 19, and you pay like $140, $150 a month for insurance at that time, and I was only making $7 an hour. That cleaned out what I had, all the money I had, trying to fund the car, and I needed money for school a lot more, and still feel the pinch that I don't have my own car today, and I just don't think it's worth the expense for me. But I did actually park here briefly when I returned for the grade 12. I had all my credits for graduation, but I was looking to upgrade to improve my chance to get into SAIT. I mean, of course, going back to have a learning disability, I had an individualized program plan. That's how I also got through high school. I mean, I would have still gone through it either way, but there was just some work done in the background, trying to accommodate me in as best I can. But there was a potential that I was going to come back for a semester, and no regrets. I mean, after as time goes on, it's all irrelevant. But let's see this part of the wing here. Of course, there's a bell of Alberta up there. Go Flames. But I think the one teacher wanted to show it off, that other teacher, I guess, with a flag and a pennant. Flames are my team, as you probably figure, as I mostly do on my YouTube channel. So make sure you hit like and subscribe. But the other side of the student center, kind of the common corridor, where that no loitering sign used to be, this also stuck out to me. That none of this was here. I think it was probably all put out during the centennial. But you can kind of see the history of Crescent Heights right there. So you can see the, the current building. There's the Balmoral School. It says this mural courtesy of the class 1969, but this was not here when I was going to school. I know this was the sports medicine area. And then you can kind of walk around. There's some more, Crescent Cowboys athletics. I already tried to get some pictures of that, but that's why I say I definitely would love to get inside. You can still see the remnants of COVID, with all this on there and this tape on the ground. This virus is smart, right? But this is that view from the student parking lot from right here. And walking down, this is where the art area is, the graphics area. I mean, coming back to my memories here, I mean, still, my best days wasn't here at Crescent Heights, as I say, for high school. I still say my best days was when I was going to Dr. Oakley and then my 1 year at Cap Smart. I can still say those are my best school days, believe it or not. Just, I think all that made it possible for me to eventually grind through Dr. Egbert and then here. I mean, I still had my struggles as a teenager. I mean, grade 10 was pretty good. Just being in high school and knowing that, was the other thing that always stands out to me is that I guess it's a family legacy that many members of my family graduated from here. I'm glad I got to do that. Went here and it was designated feeder to come here. I know grade 11 was my roughest year here because I started off rough. I just felt down, and then I had a little scrap with someone that prompted me to end my time delivering flyers. But now we're actually I'm good with that person now. I mean, just a little scrap, someone who was bothering you, but now we get along fine, so that's all good there. But I definitely gone through all that, and then grade 11 was just getting through that. In grade 12, I mean, it was all right. I know much of my time, I also remember when I was going here, I was working at Movie Dome, at the movie theater, so I had a part-time job for much of my time here too, so that also didn't, allow me to do as much fun. But of course, I still have to grind it out, work hard, just so I can graduate and focus on SATE. But yeah, I mean, the student parking lot, yeah, there was like a summer camp going on nearby here, and must be wrapping up, so that's why there's more vehicles and still more remnants of the Every Child Matters. Where all we can do is raise awareness for it now. And it's, I see that all the other schools that basically you see that everywhere. That's where you see the orange and the hearts. I mean, it's kind of a brutal history of the residential schools. I'll just leave it. I'll let you look it up. What this Every Child Matters, all we can do is just raise awareness. And I know that was after the Victoria Day long weekend that the first site came outside of First Nations and Kamloops. And now I think the number that we've known of grave sites is over 1,300. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'm not all for that. Just, not to be too controversial. Just all we can do is raise awareness. So it's nice to see. So yeah, I remember, I think down here, this is where the Drama Society was. I know that I did have some art class up here. I also do remember I had a math class on this side, especially in grade 12. And another thing I noticed my time when going to high school here is that you have all the subjects, the main subjects like social studies, English, math. They have like their offices for each instructor or teacher. So they, it's kind of like groups of teachers, which that makes sense. But here I'm approaching where the automotive areas. I know that I kind of left out that this area also used to be known as the smoke pit. I know that when I was going to high school here, this area still was an area for students to smoke. I know that I think this sign right here is implying that you can't smoke here anymore. It makes me sick, secondhand smoke with asthma and that. But I do remember a lot of students hanging out here smoking. That was during the transition time, because I still remember, my first Stampeder games that I went to. And you can see this is the automotive area. Can't obviously go in to look the other side of the student center, but this was also the smoke pit. And I think at the time, this was one of the few high schools in the city that still allowed, students to actually smoke near the school without really going away. But that was during the transition time where I did remember, you know, you were still allowed to smoke outside at football games, and then they banned it, and then eventually it got to the point where they banned smoking in restaurants if children are present. Because I still used to remember, I worked at, couldn't get the focus there, but I guess I'll never get it, but this is the school bus with the name on it. But I remember I used to work at Zellers where you could smoke in the restaurant, and they took that out. So I think this is no longer the smoke pit now, and sorry for those who smoke. I definitely don't support it, and only occasionally for celebratory, but not smoking cigars. So I'll just continue walking my way around. I'm almost at the front entrance. I just this is Logging on the Go, where I'm trying to work around moving subjects, but I'm going to walk up to the front door on the front side. Once again, this is whereabouts I remember having, let's let traffic go by. I just tried not to get people in there, but I also remember this arch right here. There was another stage area. I know that in the basement area there's another stage where the Drama Society was, but going out to this side, you can see some of the trees where you got red rings and green rings. So I think we're going to see a little less trees out here in the front. And you know, walking down First Street Northwest, here's the Bow Building. That was not there because the Bow didn't fully open till in the early 2010s. But yeah, I remember having homerooming lockers on this side for grades 10 and 11. I remember starting my day a lot on this side of the school, and of course going back to the main front area. So I think this part of the school either was built in 1949 or 1928. I mean, I think this looks like 1949. Obviously this front part getting close is 1928, the original part of the school. So you can definitely see the, you know, if I ever get to go inside and do this on the inside, you can see the different eras. But I think after when that tree blew down, you're not going to see any more of these trees here. And I'm going to say one of my yearbooks, that picture is always going to be when there used to be trees here. But yeah, I know in this main part, second floor, that's where you had the social studies, and the third floor, that's where you had English. And then the newer part is where all the science classes is. But yeah, I'm working my way back to the front area and just reminiscing. It's been 20 years since I graduated from here, but it's quite a journey that it took just to get here. I mean, my first school was the Centennial School, where I went to kindergarten. And I say I also like that school because of the old sandstone building. If I were to rate the architecture of schools, I'd have to say this and Centennial, just because of the, you know, vintage aesthetics. And then Dr. Oakley, because that was the school that was built in the, I'm guessing around the 50s and 60s. But then the newer schools where I lived, you know, Marble Park, it was all just like a concrete, boring building, you know, where James Short, Cappy Smart, and Dr. Egbert is. But I'm going to say, yeah, I started off at Centennial. Then I went to James Short Memorial for 3 years. And then I went to Dr. Oakley for 3 years, which I'm going to say that was my best days of school. Just what it meant to me to cope with my learning disability. Then I went to the registry where I was at Cappy Smart for a year. Dr. A for 3 years before coming here for 3 years. And then I came back for a semester in the fall to do some upgrading. And not to do my best Jason Kinney. To let me be clear, I already had my high school diploma. I graduated, but I wanted to do some upgrading. And that was one of the possibilities I had, you know, during talking to guidance counselors. But hey, eventually I got to see. And I'll eventually do a vlog on the go. And I'm going to say this school, with the looking at the front, this kind of reminds me of Heritage Hall. Just how it looks, given the time it was built. And I kind of like that century Gothic style. Even going back to when I went to Ottawa for the 105th Grey Cup, one of the first things you got to do as a Canadian going to Ottawa is you got to go to Parliament Hill. So I walked in there, and there were some parts in Parliament Hill that I liked. And I just like, you know, some of the government buildings I walked in that was built in the 1910s, 1920s. I just like that architecture style. So before I close out, I'm going to walk over to the rock at Crescent Park, and just to take in another priceless view of the city. That's just one of the perks of going to school here. So I'll see you over there. But yeah, I just did a nice little reflection. But once again, part 2, walked around. But I think the rock, talk about Crescent Park, will explain why we were called the Cowboys. So I'll meet you over there. Well, I'm back. I decided I'll just put all my pictures before this. So hopefully you enjoyed all my pictures of the old high school, but just off of the old high school is Crescent Park. And I think right here, it explains why we were called the Cowboys. So it says right here, Crescent Park. On Monday, May 7th, 1923, Mayor George Webster planted the first tree here in First Park in North Hill, Calgary's cowboy mayor. Crescent Cowboys, go Cowboys, reportedly said this planting of trees was a good answer to pessimistic talk. When a man planted a tree, it showed me he would possibly stay in the country to see it grow, give people a real interest in the community. The park was the result of a movement started by the Crescent Heights and District Horticultural Society. The city acquired the land the year prior from Mrs. Catherine MacArthur, widow of one of the village's founding fathers, Archibald John MacArthur. Mr. MacArthur had originally put the parcel aside the Baptist Union of Western Canada in 1906. In 1919, the province considered buying the parcel for a normal and technology school. There were no funds available to participate in any improvements in the new park that opening that year. Residents of the district and the society were determined a lot, though. Donations were collected and a special arbor sales center were set up by a local fire hall on 16th Avenue and 1st Street Northwest, which is that, I think that's near where that church is, near where Balmoral School is, where Crescent Heights started. Many dug and transplanted trees here themselves through its support, minus this lovely spot was born. So I'm going to say, just because it's mentioned Cowboy Mayor, I think that's why we were called the Crescent Cowboys. All I can be is just a Cowboy fan, as I didn't participate in any sports, but I'll just walk around, and this is one of the perks of being near Crescent Heights High School, is if you want to take a break from your studies, or even now or live nearby, you just get this priceless view of the city. Of course, the view that I had when I was coming here, starting in 1998 till 2001, I mean, the Bull building that we kind of see in the tree there, and then you kind of got the Telesky, and then Brookfield Place. They weren't even built or even thought of yet. Do you remember, seeing the Calgary Tower? This is that humid Bluff Park. I see they closed off the street here to make it more pedestrian friendly, I guess, to also keep up with the social distancing. That's still installed right now during COVID-19, but hopefully eventually we'll get through all that. But yeah, just walk back out, and this is kind of where I started my Crescent Heights neighborhood vlog when I was at the old high school 5 weeks ago. But yeah, this is a humid Bluff Park. So this is this priceless view of the city. See right here, Memorial Drive, the Bow River. You can see, yep, got the Bow Building. See the Telesky, Brookfield Place, a little bit of the, now it's called the Suncor Center. Oh yeah, you can see the Peace Bridge, and of course I also like this view when you walk around the pathway, that you can see the old campus site right here. I'm always going to call site the old campus, where you see the Senator Burns building, the Bacon Tower, and the new res. And you can, it seems a little less hazy today, but you can kind of see, a little more of the Rocky Mountains. I mean, this is late June compared to the middle of May when I was here. And looking down, there's Eau Claire Market. So to say, that's where I had my 10-year high school reunion in the garage, and I know a class before and after me also had one there too. So I wonder if we'll eventually, if we'll have a reunion for 20 years where we actually interact with each other. Remember when we used to do that? Maybe we'll be at the same bar, but yeah, you can see, kind of have the Crescent Park. I guess the trees and that are all more fully bloomed, so we kind of block out the old high school, but you got the old campus right here. And when I say, this is the city that I live and work and love in Calgary, and being a big Calgary sports fan. And as I say, if you want to to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, home the Flames, Hip, and the Roughnecks Stampeders. I mostly do talk Calgary sports on my YouTube channel, and I also do personal vlogs, attempt to comedy, and also do sharing experience on the road. We're at a sporting event, you know, Calgary, home of the Flames, Hip, and Roughnecks and Stampeders, and been doing this vlog on the go, and I guess this kind of wraps up my looking back at all my schools from the past, as I kind of started it with going to Crescent Heights. I didn't go in my order, but I think I'll eventually make a playlist where if you want to see all my schools in order that I attended, you can see that playlist. But I did it when I had the chance. I mean, this is probably, I think this is the closest school that I live nearby now in Capitol Hill. And then, you know, Sonalta, you kind of, oh yeah, you can see Sonalta in the distance where my kindergarten is. So I like this view a little more, where here I went to kindergarten in Sonalta, here is my high school, and here is my college. So you get the trifecta there. Everything else in between, that's where I definitely, you know, was molded with James Short, and then Dr. Oakley, Cappy Smart, Dr. Abert, and then here at Crescent Heights. As I said, I don't think I did too bad for myself, given I have a learning disability. I always have to, you know, cope with it. But it's been a fun doing this vlogging on the go when I can, and I'm going to say once the off season gets going in sports, I think we're going to be doing a lot more sports videos once that time comes. And then, of course, next month hopefully we'll get the CFL season going and Go Stamps Go. And I'm going to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. And like I said, this is definitely a priceless, beautiful view of the city. So see you then.